Hello, I'm host Eric, host of Talking with Famous People, and I'm using my radio broadcasting voice.
And
I'm
I'm
here.
host Tiffany.
Yes, you are. And here we are tonight talking about what? We're talking about Megabro's very interesting forum topic that he put and that famous person Tiffany, host Tiffany, has in front of her and that she is about to read so that we can have it to reference. Please proceed.
Okay, so the topic of this forum post is how are SI ideal concrete archetypes related with Platonic forms? And more specifically, Megabro's specific questions are how are SI or introverted sensing ideal concrete archetypes related with Platonic forms? And can using instances of Platonic form ideals help keep your possessions looking nice? And in parentheses, he notes providing functional use of extroverted thinking for Platonic forms, despite them not being strictly real.
Okay, so first of all, let's talk a little bit about what he means by Platonic forms. Plato supposed that there was a true form of everything from which something might be degraded or towards which something might attain its nature. That things had a fundamental nature to them that they could move away from or towards. So this he referred to as this is what we refer to now as the Platonic form. In other words, we can think of it in some sense as like certain time objects like songs have they are their Platonic form in a sense that the melody of Jingle Bells exists and persists in many different executions and across many different formats and stuff like that. I mean, it could
Would the
be,
very first one be the Platonic form?
I would say, I mean, you might argue that the song played perfectly in some and arranged perfectly and with the right instruments and the right dynamics and everything perfect, that would be the Platonic form. But I would argue that the melody itself is the Platonic form. That we all are really comfortable with Platonic forms in music because if I were to sing Jingle Bells, Jingle, oh, if I were to go to the wrong note, you'd say, well, that's not the note in Jingle Bells. It's so hard. It's hard to even sing a wrong note. We're so inherently locked in with the melody of Jingle Bells. We could change the words, it remains Jingle Bells. And so, in that sense, there's a Platonic form of a song that we are all comfortable acknowledging exists. The melody of a song is the melody of a song. That's its identity, and something other than that is not it. In that instance, it's a binary melody. It's a binary Platonic form in the sense that you can't change even one note a little bit. It's either on or off. But a lot of things don't seem to have that quality. And so when you talk about SI being related to Platonic forms, I think he's probably talking about the fact that when I look around me in this space here, I think, God, I really need to finish this organizational project that's ongoing and never ending, and where I ideally would get things in the right place. That's my goal, like have everything in the right place so it makes sense. It's a good, organized system. Everything's tight and fit and perfect. Of course, you can't ever do that.
Like that with my computer.
I wish I were like that with my computer.
And I'm not even quite there with that. I try to be. It bothers me that I'm not.
Yeah, well, we are SI in fourth slot. We have a lot of trouble with this. Anyway, the notion being that to the extent that an object is kept in tip-top condition, if you maintain your objects a lot, you're probably SI heavy, right? So the idea being that a space, for example, can have a Platonic form. And the Platonic form of this space is not this, for sure. And it probably changes because the amount of objects that I have changes. And
So you once asked me if I had like a specific area that I kept like really neat or clean, if I had like a SI area. So if I actually thought of my actual computer that way, like I take it out, I dust it, I clean all the components, I make sure everything's in tip-top perfect placement and everything's exactly where it needs to be, exactly as clean as it should be. I want to keep it as maintained, as perfectly running for as long as possible. That's my SI thing. I don't really do that with anything else.
Right, yeah. And I'm very aspirational about it in the sense that I would love to have my space organized. I would love to solve these chaos issues, but they're
Just don't
it's
want to do it.
I just hate it so much. It's just so much of a struggle to get myself to do them, and so in that regard, I every platonic form in the space world to me seems distant and inaccessible. In the time world, platonic forms seem much more accessible. I know whether with a sentence or a paragraph or whatever I've written, how close it is to its platonic form. With writing, I can tell where I need to edit, where I don't, where it sings and where it falls flat.
So for me, I kind of experienced that in that I can tell if something doesn't seem right. I don't necessarily know how to change it, but with like writing or if I hear something, I'm like, oh, I know that's not grammatically correct, or I know that doesn't flow right. I'm not necessarily going to be able to fix it, but I'll know when it sounds right. Is that
Well,
what you're
and
talking about?
yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Is that there's a correct that English moves along certain cadences, and that a well-written set of expression will move with a certain set of cadences, and it sounds right. It just sounds right. It feels right. It's not making any obvious mistakes. And the same thing's true of spoken stuff. So right now I'm stumbling around a little bit because I'm a little too conscious of my being aware of I'm too meted up at the moment. Like I'm talking too much about how this stuff has platonic form to actually execute any platonic form at all. There seems to be a quantum relationship between the two or something. But it's about practice. I've written shitloads of stuff, and you get better at it. And I've made a ton of videos, and you get better at it. And I've written a ton of
You're
songs,
all
and you get
right.
better at it. Well, I mean, you say that's a nice compliment and everything, but it's true. I'm still very hit and miss, and there are some personality types who don't operate this way. Like Zach's very careful about putting a video up. He is he wants to know what he's going to do, and he wants to have a good sense of how it executes and know that it works before he puts it up. I tend to, if something's really bad, it's just getting a bunch of thumbs down, I'll just take it, put it on private. But I don't really necessarily know until I get some sort of feedback. So, it's a slow process in that regard. You eliminate mistakes one at a time. But regarding the space, um, yeah, I think Megabro, that sounds like an excellent link to make. That in fact you can you we can all feel platonic forms manifest around us all the time, and I think the an interesting note would be that we experience these platonic forms in coordination with our most comfortable functions. I mean, as an any dom, it's hard for me to abstract out about platonic forms of extroverted intuition.
What do you mean?
I'm trying to imagine a platonic form of extroverted intuition. I want to imagine platonic form, the notion thereof, manifesting through each of the respective functions.
The platonic understanding
Hold
every
on,
angle of something.
you cut out. You cut out. We missed almost all of that. Can you try again?
I said it's the perfect puzzle where everything falls into place, where all the connections they're perfect.
I think you're
It's
describing
when you have
NI.
a.
I think
I
that would
thought that
be.
was extroverted intuition.
Well, look, but you're describing a puzzle that comes together into a single collapsed whole. The collapsing
I
of
thought
over oversaturation. You know, that's NI. I think the perfect. That's why I'm having so much trouble abstracting a
I
platonic
thought
form of NE because it's the opposite of that.
I thought extroverted intuition was making those abstract connections that make those situations make sense.
Well, it's
Like
I
something doesn't seem right. You're in a situation and you know something doesn't seem right, and that bothers you until you're able to figure out what's missing in that puzzle, and then all the relationships make sense all of a sudden.
okay. Well, you're talking
Like
about you're talking about really finding the introverted intuition's conclusion through a different angle. But that's not the actual process of extroverted intuition, as I see it. I see it as the transformation.
Or is that my introverted thinking?
Well, I see it. I think you're using introverted thinking to look at the process of extroverted intuition through its end, which is to say where it gets to is kind of the same place as NI, but it's not actually the process. It's that's the thing. It's hard to abstract a Platonic form of a process that's as untethered as extroverted intuition, and that's why I sat there and looked at those trees for quite a long time trying to abstract one out. It's.
That's it right there. Eric's expressing it right now. This is the platonic form of extroverted intuition, gazing off into the street.
I'm looking at those leaves right there, asking them to do something for me, right? Like be something else, right? That's what it is. Be something
No,
else. And you got to
so-
get there. You got to get there. You got to force it to be something else.
So wait. No, but you looking at those leaves, right? You're outside looking at those leaves. If suddenly something about those leaves pops an idea into your head about something completely unrelated, isn't that your extroverted intuition?
No, the extroverted intuition is going like,
So then what is that? What did I just describe?
well, it's. I don't see it as unrelated. I think of it. I see extroverted intuition as one where you can
Making the relations.
you can see the glimmers of the associative trails. I see introverted intuition as not being able to see the glimmers of the associative trails, which is to say, the extroverted intuition sees the potential links between things and chases them down. And introverted intuition notes the whole from a set of links. But like with the leaves thing, I was thinking.
What am I describing?
All right, well, I don't know. Let me walk through my thinking process. I'm going to be mostly describing introverted thinking here as driven by an engine of extroverted intuition. When I'm looking at these leaves out here, I'm thinking, okay, well, what is extroverted intuition? We see these leaves, they're connected to this thing, this branch. I'm not actually going through all of these words, but they're sort of nubs of these ideas, right? And, obviously there's the issue of distinction and boundaries. They've got boundaries on them. How can I separate the boundaries is kind of a core question here, or make new boundaries, divide further so that it becomes indistinct as its identity and becomes redirected towards some other identity. And I'm not exactly sure how that would apply with these leaves here to this current conversation. But there's this other plant that's growing on it too. And it's got these little yellow kind of flowery things coming off of it. And it's like a vine that's sort of smothering that tree with the leaves that I'm looking at, but it doesn't seem to be bothering it particularly. So I guess you could sort of divide boundaries by messing with that, but it's not very interesting. I'm looking for something that seems novel, or that seems insightful, or particularly unusual connection to make.
You're looking around your environment, your external world at whatever, and you're looking for some sort of eureka moment regarding whatever your current goal is.
I'm looking for a crack.
An anomaly.
A crack. I'm looking for a weakness in my own understanding of how everyone understands things, and of my own understanding of how I understand things. I'm trying to find cracks I haven't noticed before, crevices that I can climb down into and break things apart and make them into new distinctions. I think that's what I'm trying to do most of the time with extroverted intuition. And some of the times that manifests as humor. Like, I'm I'm seeking absurd pairings or pairings that make me laugh. Links that seem unusual and humorous ways. And then other times, like right now, I'm trying to do abstract reasoning basically through the process of um, testing things for weakness. Compton, get out of there! Compton! God damn that dog. That dog is such a troublemaker. I could get the dog out of there. Hold on a second. Go ahead and muse if you'd like. Compton, come here.
I don't know. I clearly don't have nearly as strong a grasp on all this stuff. For me, I tend to make my best ideas and connections when I'm not thinking about what I'm going to make those connections about. It just kind of comes to me like,
Watch
if
out,
I were
Compton.
looking at that branch and those trees and those leaves, and I suddenly had a
It's
eureka
because you
moment.
leave so many. That lady back there leaves so many
Never
like
mind.
food things in her compost pile, and Compton always wants to get them and bring them back here. Very annoying. All right, let me put my headphones back on so I can hear you. All right, so what are your thoughts about all this stuff?
You totally interrupted what I was saying.
My bad, sorry. It's, I couldn't hear you,
It's okay. I
So,
realized that. I was just like, never mind halfway through. I totally don't even. It doesn't even matter. Where were we? Lost my
I
train
was
of thought.
I was just gonna say, what thoughts do you have about this in general? Um, I
Well, I clearly don't have the same grasp on any of this stuff as much as you do. Like, I don't know. For I mean, to answer his second question, I think definitely yes.
What's the second question?
Second question being, can using instances of platonic form ideals keep your possessions looking nice?
Yes.
I mean, I think what I described with my computer is a perfect example of that.
Yeah. I think that's
I
why
don't even
my
think you need. I don't even think you need functional use of extroverted thinking, because he has in parentheses providing a functional use of TE for platonic forms, despite them not being strictly real. Like, I don't even think we need that in parentheses. Just platonic form ideals will help keep your possessions looking nice.
um.
Yes.
Well, I think his point about the TE thing is when you do maintenance or stuff like that, that's thinking being applied in the external world to create order, and it's saying that usually we do that on usually TI is applied to primarily people's behavior. TE, I mean. And so I guess he's saying that you're applying it to something that's just purely abstract, doesn't make any sense, namely like to a platonic form. But in this instance, the link can be made. I guess that's what I'd say he's saying there. And I agree with you. Yeah, it definitely, that's exactly what it is. It's like keeping your shit nice. That's why I keep my shit not very nice, I guess. Too bad for me.
I try to keep my technology nice. That's about it. It drives my fiance crazy. And even
I
that, I don't keep as nice as I should. It's a fucking mess!
well, she has her opinions about that, obviously. I
Oh,
I don't
she's
know what
not wrong.
I don't know what I try to keep.
You don't have a closet because of all your shit.
I don't know what I have as an area that I keep particularly nice. There's some things I try to keep nice. I try to stay on top of shit. I don't know. Anyway, Megabro, thanks for the very intriguing question, and I hope this satisfies the expected level of attention for your video request. If not, we
And that
apologize
is
for our failure.
that is exactly what that section of the forum is for. We want lots of people to come join our forum and ask us to make videos. We would love to make them. We're open
Yep.
to any suggestions.
Thanks for watching Talking with Fans People.